Richard Feynman. Drop this right now so your brain can work at full capacity. Have you ever felt that restless spark inside your mind? The sense that your brain could run at a much higher gear if only you found the right switch? Have you watched shows about geniuses or read about legendary scientists and wondered if there's some hidden formula they follow, some intangible key that unlocks peak intellect on demand? If so, you're not alone. For decades, people have chased methods to unshackle the mind from everyday sluggishness, hoping to emulate the brilliance of luminaries like Albert Einstein, Marie Curie, or Isaac Newton. But among all these icons, one name stands out for his down-to-earth approach to unraveling life's deepest mysteries. Richard Feynman, the Nobel Prize, winning theoretical physicist beloved for his razor-sharp insights and playful attitude toward the universe. Today, we're delving into a startling claim linked to Feynman, that if we'd only drop a certain habit or mindset right this moment, we could unleash the mind's full potential, dissolving mental drags and opening floodgates of creativity and clarity. Stick with me till the end, because we'll be piecing together a practical map, straight from Feynman's life philosophy and corroborated by modern neuroscience, that just might sharpen your brain more than you'd ever guess. And at the final stretch, we'll reveal a 3-step daily practice that might be all you need to cast off those invisible mental shackles. It may seem bold to use the phrase, "drop this right now," in the same breath as Richard Feynman. After all, Feynman was known for curiosity and exploration, not dogmatic commands. But in his inimitable style, he sometimes struck with blunt clarity, especially when addressing the self-imposed illusions that hampered genuine understanding. He famously declared, "The first principle is that you must not fool yourself, and you are the easiest person to fool." Feynman's life was a crusade against illusions, biases, or mental debris that keep us from seeing things as they are. In that sense, the statement, "drop this right now so your brain can work at full capacity," might be paraphrasing his deeper call to let go of the illusions that clutter our minds and hamper discovery. However, to decode it fully, we have to journey through the big themes that peppered Feynman's interviews, lectures, and personal letters. Let's start at Los Alamos in the 1940s, where young Feynman tackled the complexities of atomic physics in the race to develop the first nuclear bombs. Under extraordinary pressure, he discovered that clarity of thought was paramount, and any mental baggage or erroneous assumption wasted precious time. He'd joke about how he found workarounds to open locked filing cabinets, or how he teased his colleagues with puzzle-like challenges. But at the heart of it, he recognized that speed, efficiency, and inventiveness in the mind demanded fearlessness about letting go of unexamined ideas. While others might cling to conventional theories or get lost in extraneous detail, Feynman honed a skill for cutting to the heart of a problem. That's the essence. The more mental junk you carry, the less agile you're thinking. So if you want your brain at full capacity, you must identify and discard the illusions or intellectual baggage that weigh you down. It's about clarity, not complexity. But illusions can take many forms: self-doubt, fear of failure, over-reliance on authority, or the seductive comfort of shallow shortcuts. Feynman recognized them all. He recounted how, as a boy, he learned math by exploring patterns, not rote memorization. He scorned the fragile knowledge that came from memorizing formulas without understanding. So "drop this right now" might refer to dropping rote cramming or dropping the fear that stops you from questioning everything. Later, as a teacher, he saw how students regurgitated answers but lacked real comprehension. Again, that sense of "stop fooling yourself, drop that approach" echoes through his critiques. It's a call to abandon superficial learning and adopt the deeper path of safe-cracking knowledge from the inside. Because the mind, free from illusions, can process information more fluidly, forging connections that yield genuine insight. At the heart of all this is a puzzle. If illusions, shallow thinking, or memorized facts hamper brilliance, how do we truly drop them? It's easier said than done. We humans cling to mental habits, narratives, and self-defenses that keep us comfortable. That's where the second half of Feynman's approach comes in: self-honesty, curiosity, and fun. He insisted that real understanding arises from playing with ideas, turning them around, testing them, asking questions. He approached physics like a detective game, not as a race for prestige. By injecting a sense of fun, he disarmed the ego that typically latches onto illusions, the desire to appear right, not foolish. Freed from that ego trap, the brain devotes more capacity to exploring possibilities. This resonates with modern research on mindsets. If you adopt a playful, experiment-driven approach, you bypass the mental friction of self-consciousness, letting your neural networks fire more creatively. Before we push deeper, let's pose our first question to you, dear reader, to consider or answer in the comments. If you scanned your own habits or beliefs, what do you suspect might be the single biggest illusion or mental block that's preventing your brain from truly flourishing? Is it the fear of looking dumb, the reliance on memorized steps, or the dread of stepping outside your comfort zone? Identifying that block is crucial if you wish to follow Feynman's command to drop it. Now, let's talk about the synergy of that shift with the brain's biology. Modern neuroscience reveals that when we cling to rigid mental models, often ingrained by repetition or fear of uncertainty, we suppress the plasticity of neural pathways. Our cognition becomes a loop, rehashing the same patterns. Conversely, adopting a Feynman-esque stance of curiosity and readiness to discard flawed assumptions triggers more dynamic learning circuits. Dopamine flows more freely when the mind is in a playful, exploratory state, reinforcing new pathways. The prefrontal cortex, normally the seat of inhibitions, may relax, allowing for more lateral thinking. In effect, each moment we challenge a cherished assumption or drop a mental crutch, we spark new synaptic connections. Over time, this leads to sharper problem-solving, clearer memory encoding, and that intangible glow of mental agility. Where does fear fit in? For many, the fear of being wrong or incompetent stifles the willingness to question. Feynman tackled that head-on. "I would rather have questions that can't be answered than answers that can't be questioned," he famously said. By demoting the fear of error, he invited the mind to roam widely. In the 21st century, countless innovators echo this mindset. Fail fast, iterate, remain unafraid of missteps. Fear is a mental load that distracts the brain from constructive tasks. So you might interpret "drop this right now" as drop the fear of being wrong, unleashing a torrent of possibility. Are you, for instance, holding back a creative idea at work because you dread sounding foolish? Feynman would roll his eyes. He'd say the potential payoff of fresh thought dwarfs the trivial embarrassment of an off-mark guess. Another dimension is what Feynman disliked about authority worship. He observed that people often accept ideas from revered figures or textbooks without question. That passivity cripples the mind. He championed a figure-it-out-for-yourself ethos, pushing his students to rederive formulas or replicate experiments. Drop the reflex to blindly trust authority, he might say. In a brain sense, that means you're no longer letting your mind idle in somebody else's mold. Instead, you're forging new neural roads as you test, verify, or refute what you read or hear. The result is mental independence, a hallmark of Feynman's own brilliance. Freed from external dependence, your brain can, ironically, integrate knowledge more robustly. The sweet spot is cross-checking multiple sources, but never letting anyone else's pronouncement freeze your own inquiry. That's dropping illusions about expert infallibility in a nutshell. Let's consider an example from Feynman's personal life, his approach to learning languages or playing bongos. He was always picking up random skills, but rarely used traditional methods. Instead, he fiddled, explored, made mistakes, and learned from them. He dropped the typical structure or fear of messing up. The outcome? He ended up good enough to perform drumming at events or converse passably in different tongues, all while sustaining his main career as a physicist. The takeaway is the same. By refusing to let preconceived learning models hamper him, he let his mind roam free, absorbing knowledge swiftly. The more your mind can roam, the more capacity you harness. We can't ignore how Feynman's approach ties to the emotional and motivational aspects of cognition. Drop this right now might apply to negativity or cynicism. Feynman had a playful positivity that, even amid the serious environment of advanced physics, kept him afloat. Sure, he had tragic moments, like the death of his first wife, Arlene, but he navigated grief with curiosity and stoic acceptance. Negative ruminations are a mental drain. Fixating on how tough or unfair life is saps the brain's horsepower, leaving less left for insight or creativity. So if your headspace is swirling with negativity, the Feynman method says, drop it. Not in a naive, just be happy sense, but in the sense that negativity might be an illusion you're fueling, a mental loop that no longer serves. By dropping that, your emotional load lightens, granting your brain more bandwidth for constructive tasks. Now, let's insert our second question for reflection. If you could identify one negative or unproductive thought pattern, maybe a form of self-criticism or cynicism that regularly surfaces in your mind, do you think you could apply a Feynman reset and let it go for a week? And if so, how do you imagine that might alter your daily mindset or problem-solving ability? To ensure we ground these lofty ideas in something tangible, let's build a step-by-step approach shaped by Feynman's logic that you can adopt immediately. We'll label it the drop drill method. Identify the clutter. Begin by taking a few minutes, maybe in a journal, to list out the mental stuff that might hamper your clarity. Are you stuck reciting memorized formulas, but not understanding them? Are you afraid of failing in a particular domain? Do you rely on an authority figure's word without verifying? Is cynicism overshadowing your curiosity? This is your clutter inventory. Drop it consciously. For each item, write out a short statement. I choose to drop the fear of X, or I choose to drop the assumption that Y must be true. The act of writing a vow to drop, it is significant. You're acknowledging that these illusions or blocks are not facts carved in stone, but narratives you can discard. This echoes Feynman's emphasis on not fooling yourself. If you can't rationally justify a mental assumption, be willing to part with it. Drill down with a child's curiosity. Freed from illusions, approach your problem or learning as if you're a curious child. Instead of swallowing a textbook explanation, ask why repeatedly. Try restating concepts in your own words or teaching them to someone else. If you get stuck, identify exactly the gap in your knowledge. This step resonates with the famous Feynman technique, where you actively break down complexity and reassemble it, verifying each piece. Because you've let go of the fear or pretense, you can wholeheartedly engage in the puzzle, gleaning real understanding. Reward the brain with small victories. Each time you catch yourself letting go of an old illusion, like the impulse to say, I can't do math, or I must do it exactly as the expert says, and instead push forward with a new approach, reward yourself. It might be a mental pat on the back, a short break, or a celebratory note in your journal. Positive reinforcement cements the new neural pathways. Over time, your mind becomes far less burdened and far more fluid, channeling that full capacity Feynman so often invoked. Reflect, iterate, and expand. This method is no one-time trick. The illusions or mental blocks are sneaky. They re-emerge in new guises. Periodically reflect, maybe weekly, on any fresh illusions that crept in. Did you adopt a new limiting belief? Did you drift back to rote memorization? The Feynman approach is cyclical. Each iteration knocks away fresh debris, letting your mind remain agile, playful, and ever more potent. Of course, adopting this drop drill routine might initially clash with habits formed by years of formal education or workplace culture. Many systems reward memorization or discourage questioning authority. But if Feynman's journey holds a lesson, it's that breakthroughs come from questioning norms. In the Manhattan Project, it was often Feynman's naive-sounding questions that uncovered overlooked assumptions. In quantum electrodynamics, it was his fearless diagrams that simplified a field others found impenetrable. So each time you choose to drop the baggage and approach a puzzle from scratch. You echo that irreverent spirit. The prize? A mind unshackled from standard constraints. Some might wonder if this approach is too chaotic. Doesn't the brain crave structure? Indeed, Feynman valued structure, but not at the cost of genuine understanding. He built frameworks from the ground up, verifying each link. The difference is that he avoided starting from unquestioned frameworks. So yes, structure is helpful as long as you can confirm each rung of the ladder. That's the heart of the method, never letting unverified or unhelpful mental scaffolding linger. You either confirm it or remove it. Another angle, modern data about growth mindset, aligns well with Feynman's perspective. Psychologist Carol Dweck's research shows that people with a growth mindset, believing abilities can be cultivated, persist, and excel more than those with a fixed mindset. Feynman epitomized a growth mindset, always eager to learn new things, never pinned down by illusions of innate limitation. So part of dropping it right now might mean ditching the belief, I'm just not a math person or I'm not creative. Feynman hammered that dogma, demonstrating that curiosity outstrips inborn talent 90% of the time, provided you don't hamper yourself with fear or smugness. It's worth noting that Feynman also recognized the joy and necessity of occasional ignorance. He embraced not knowing. In a sense, telling your brain, you don't have to pretend you know everything, can be liberating. That might be another chunk we drop, the pressure to be omniscient. Freed from that facade, we can ask more direct, childlike questions that lead to real comprehension. This is a hallmark of Feynman's persona. The famed Caltech lectures where he'd pepper advanced topics with simple, direct questions that everyone else was too proud to pose. The result? Students found new clarity, and Feynman refined his own mastery. So ironically, dropping the mask of all-knowingness unleashes your brain's capacity. We should address a potential pitfall. Some might interpret drop illusions as ignore everything you haven't proven yourself. That can veer into extreme skepticism, stalling your learning. Feynman wasn't naive. He used an open-minded but critical approach, accepting well-corroborated ideas provisionally, while staying vigilant for contradictions. So drop illusions doesn't mean you must personally replicate every experiment from scratch. But it does mean you remain alert, ready to revise if new evidence arises. That's the difference between healthy skepticism and destructive cynicism. In practice, you adopt a working model, but always keep the possibility of revision at hand. This fosters a dynamic mental environment, flexible yet grounded, precisely the formula that yields full capacity brilliance. Let's not forget the emotional dimension of this transformation. For some, illusions are not purely intellectual, but emotional crutches. Perhaps you cling to the notion that you're naturally incompetent at certain tasks to avoid risking failure, or you stay within a comfort zone because stepping out triggers anxiety. Dropping illusions here involves confronting emotional undercurrents, which can be challenging. Feynman overcame heartbreak, recognized the ephemeral nature of life, and still pursued a zest for new knowledge. That courage is part of why he soared. If you aim to replicate any measure of that, prepare to face emotional vulnerabilities. The payoff is that once you cross that threshold, your brain and heart feel lighter, able to engage tasks with newfound vigor. Now, a word on practicality. Can you replicate this shift in daily life if you have a routine 9-to-5 job or academic schedule? Absolutely. The drop drill approach is flexible. You might start small. Choose one subject or skill you want to cleanse with Feynman's method. Let's say it's coding, photography, or speaking a foreign language. Identify illusions, like memorized code snippets you never understood, or a reluctance to ask native speakers questions. Decide to drop that approach, adopting playful curiosity. Then do the drill down. Dissect concepts from the ground up, ask naive questions, experiment beyond the standard instructions. Reward yourself for each micro breakthrough. Over weeks, you might feel more confident and less reliant on superficial memorization or the fear that you just can't do it. The result: your neurons more efficiently interlink knowledge. You gain deeper mastery, and your mind is freed from the tension of living behind illusions. At this juncture, some might say, but I'm not aiming to be a Nobel-level physicist. Do I really need to do all this? The truth is, Feynman's perspective isn't about chasing accolades, but about living with clarity and intellectual joy. By letting go of illusions, you can better solve day-to-day problems like managing finances, navigating career decisions, or simply learning a new hobby. Freed from mental baggage, your mind can juggle complexities and produce insights with less friction. So it's not purely about greatness. It's about operating at your personal best. That's what full capacity means. Your upper limit, your unique brilliance, unclouded by nonsense. Let's circle back to the statement that launched this entire exploration. Drop this right now, so your brain can work at full capacity. We've seen how this can refer to illusions, fear, memorized knowledge without understanding, or clinging to authority. By discarding them, you unshackle the neural synergy that fosters creative leaps, robust memory, and agile reasoning. That synergy is the hallmark of Feynman's approach to everything from quantum mechanics to drumming. It's not just a trick. It's a lifestyle shift, a vow to remain intellectually honest, playful, and fearless in the pursuit of truth. As we near the conclusion, let's reintroduce that final gem, a condensed 3-step daily practice that synthesizes everything. Morning mind audit, 2 to 5 minutes. Right after waking, ask yourself, what illusions might block me today? Maybe it's the fear of a tough meeting or the belief you're not good at some skill. Jot down a quick note stating, I'm dropping X. This primes your mind to watch for the destructive pattern that day. Active curiosity sessions, 1 to 2 times daily. Pick a small concept or task, maybe something from work or personal interest. Approach it with the Feynman child method. Ask naive questions, test assumptions, reteach it in your own words. Confirm you truly get it. If confusion remains, identify the gap and keep investigating. This ensures your brain practices real engagement, free from memorized fluff. Evening reflection, 5 minutes. Before bed, reflect on whether you successfully dropped that illusion or overcame that mental block. Did you notice more fluid thinking? Did you catch yourself slipping back into old habits? No judgment, just note it. This simple reflection cements the day's growth, aligning your subconscious overnight to keep forging new neural links. Repeat these steps daily or as often as feasible. Over time, you might discover that your problem-solving feels lighter, your memory sharper, and your creativity more spontaneous. That's the full capacity Feynman championed, a capacity we rarely tap because we cling to illusions, fear, or pretense. By systematically dropping them, you let your mental horsepower rev at a higher gear. Sure, it might not transform you into a Nobel Prize laureate overnight, but it can drastically alter how you experience and navigate challenges. In a world that often celebrates superficial achievements or quick fixes, Feynman's approach stands out as a clarion call for deeper mastery and unburdened thinking. We've arrived at our final question for you. Over the next 7 days, if you tested the drop drill approach by ditching one self-limiting belief or mental crutch each day, then focusing on a problem with childlike exploration, what shift in your productivity or clarity do you most hope to see? Share your aspiration. Sometimes, naming it publicly can accelerate the transformation. And that, dear friend, is the soul of Richard Feynman's rumored insistence to drop this right now so your brain can work at full capacity. It's a timeless nudge that the obstacles we blame for stifling our brilliance often reside in our own heads. Illusions about how knowledge must be memorized, illusions about the infallibility of experts, illusions about our inherent limitations. By stepping away from these illusions, pushing them off our mental stage, we reclaim cognitive territory. Freed from illusions, we approach each puzzle with fresh eyes, forging genuine understanding. In the modern landscape, flooded by data, hype, and shallow shortcuts, that clarity stands as the ultimate edge. Feynman's life demonstrates that no matter how high the stakes, from building the atomic bomb to deciphering quantum riddles, If you can keep your mind free, agile, and honest, you tap into a wellspring of mental resources that few ever truly discover. The next step is yours. If you do indeed adopt a piece of his method, maybe you drop a fear or false belief today. Take note of how your mind feels tomorrow, because that small decision might just be the first crack in the dam, letting a torrent of fresh insight flood your life. And if that's not full capacity, I don't know what is.